Pharmacy residency is a great path for some, but is it right for you? With the match rate now soaring above 80%, it now doesn't seem all that hard, honestly, to match into a residency. But should you dedicate a year, if not 2 years, of your life to specialize in your training, to get into a job that you may not even enjoy? Well, in this video, I want to talk about the pros and the cons of pursuing a residency, especially if you're considering going to mid-year this year. I think this is a great video to kind of just lay the bases all out there from someone who has done a residency and has advised people who have gone the residency route and not gone the residency route. So let's talk about it. In 2024, the number of people who successfully matched in their residency was 83%. Now, I didn't dig into all of the details, but I think that doesn't include the people who went through the second round or just found a program that wasn't ASHP certified. So this is a total 150, 180 change. You see, when I graduated, it was very, very competitive. There were twice the amount of applicants as there were open positions, and many of the residency programs were brand new. They hadn't been certified yet. And so it was kind of the wild west of opportunity. And the majority of people knew that if you got into a residency, then you were, quote, set for life, as the saying goes. But the truth is that residency programs historically, and even to this day, are very challenging programs. You will probably be working a minimum of 45, 50, potentially even 60, 65 hours a week. And while some of those programs have laxed the amount of hours that you spend, it's still an incredibly demanding, because not only are you doing the job of a clinical pharmacist within a certain setting in the hospital or health system or wherever you're practicing, but you also have projects to do. You have a research project that you have to deliver on by the end of the year, as well as potentially a publication and a poster project. And you're going to conferences and you potentially are teaching and you're doing all of these other things outside of your normal duties. It is, of course, a very challenging year for anyone. But what are the benefits of doing this? Like, what do you get from it? Well, at the end of the day, you honestly just get more options, because not only do you get any job opportunity that anyone could get without the residency, but you now open yourself up to other opportunities from companies that understand the value of this condensed training. You know, one of the other benefits that I liked about it was that you kind of got to practice in a really safe space. When you work in the workplace and if it's a difficult setting and maybe you don't have enough confidence because it's your first job, it can kind of feel like life or death, not only for patients, but also for yourself. You may set yourself up to very high standards and think that you're never enough, and any small mistake you could make could end in probation or even getting fired. Not that I'm speaking from experience. But I think so many pharmacists have this kind of pressure in the real world with their first roles. You know, unless you've been a grad intern or you're taking a community or hospital staff position and you've been interning for a while and you've got to slowly take on the roles and tasks and you got to learn that way, you know, that's an easier transition. But when you get into your first role, it can feel like a lot of pressure. And the residency creates usually a safe place for you to practice, to learn, to ask questions, and to honestly become a great clinical pharmacist. I would say one of the other big benefits is that it forces upon you to do two critical things for your career. The first is networking. You will be forced to meet so many people, not just within your health system, but likely at conferences, conventions, and associations. And while this can add more work for you to do, it has its benefits in the long term. I still keep in contact with people from my residency. I still keep in contact from the people that I met because of my residency. And the same is true for others. It is a grueling time with a lot of work, a lot of sweat, tears, maybe even blood if you have to touch it. And at the end of the day, you will be transformed because of it. That transformation It's a bonding experience. It's like pharmacy school or the military or, I mean, any rigorous, arduous training program. You put yourself in an environment where you're challenged and there is bonding to be had from it. And the more relationships you have in this world, the better your career is. But the other big benefit that residency forces upon you is time management skills, something that is almost never taught in pharmacy, in practically in the education system, is how do you manage yourself? How do you manage your time? How do you study? How do you try to do things as quickly as possible? And now with AI tools, this is all becoming easier and easier. But when you're in that setting of not just doing the residency job, but then you have projects and you may not have time during the week to do those projects. So you have to do things afterwards and you want to have a life and you want to breathe and enjoy the fresh air without burning out. It forces you to try to figure out how to fit more in and be more efficient. And also to accept that not everything has to be perfect. Now, my my 4.0 GPA friends out there will have a hard time accepting this, but not everything needs to be perfect. Your poster presentation doesn't need to be flawless. Your research project doesn't have to meet every single deadline. You can find flexibility, hopefully by negotiating with a residency director, but at the end of it, you learn skills that are life lessons that you absolutely need when dealing with your supervisors of the future, because you're not going to work with people that are as understanding or maybe more conflict driven, or have high pressure metric driven environments that you need to learn how to navigate. And I think the residency space is a great place to learn that. The other drawback is more about, I think, a misconception. Not all paths in pharmacy require a residency, even clinical paths. You don't have to get that residency in order to go do something interesting, clinical, or pharma based. You can just go out and go do that thing. You can get a job. You can get part time work. You can get contracts. You can learn those skills. And being paid to learn, I think, is the best way to enhance your skill base. Well, what if you just focus on just on the job training, gain the skills as you get a job? You can totally do that. In fact, many pharmacists do. They go into whatever work setting, and as they are working, they get certificates or they volunteer for projects and they gain the skills necessary to not only make themselves more valuable in the marketplace, but make themselves more marketable for new and more interesting jobs. The other component to this that you could be missing out on for on the job training is opportunities that you would have never received through a fellowship or a residency program. I'm lumping in fellowships and residencies, although they are very, very different. And now we need to talk about some of the drawbacks, which I've already alluded to in the benefits because it's a part of the conversation. But guess what? You're going to be working a lot. It's going to be hard. It's going to be stressful. You will have not only probably a normal scheduled work week, but on top of that, you'll have projects that you constantly have to do, and you may not have the time to do it. And so you're working 45, 50 hours average, maybe even up to 60, 65. That luckily is becoming less and less common, but it's still a factor. This residency program is going to be a lot of work. It's going to be stressful. It's going to feel like the world is on your shoulders. But trust me that if you can get through this year, you don't have to work this way for the rest of your life. Another drawback, obviously, is the lower pay. On average, you're going to be making 45 to 50K a year. And after taxes, it's around $3,000 a month. You will not be going to Europe with your pharmacist colleagues who took jobs at retail chains or hospitals. You will be working your tail off and not, going out to eat frequently. And if you are, I mean, I guess you can, right? You can go into debt if you want. It's not the best advice, but you're going to be hopefully living on rice and beans to not go into further debt after just spending all that money and time to get your education. I can understand why after 20 years of grueling education, you'd want to just start making money to pay off your debt and start living the rest of your life. But again, I still think that the juice is worth the squeeze on this one. Because if you can go into a residency and you practically aren't going to be making much more money. In fact, retail chains often pay more than clinical pharmacists. What you're getting out of this exchange, in my opinion, is more options to choose from for the rest of your career, more options to potentially find true job satisfaction. And as one of my past clients has said, there is no amount of money that can buy your misery. And in my opinion, the more options you have, the better it is that you can live and move into something you truly enjoy in pharmacy. So, quick decision tree. Do you want to practice clinical pharmacy? If yes, of course, go for the residency. If not, don't do it. Is research or industry your goal? You probably should consider a residency, if not trying a fellowship. This is certainly easier on, I would say, the East Coast schools. I'm talking like New England area, New York, New Jersey. This is where a lot of industries are based out of, and it's much easier for them to get fellowships just due to proximity. The next question that you should ask yourself is, hey, can you handle making a lot less and a higher workload for a year? It's a year commitment. And I think that is a serious question that only you can answer. And the final question to really ask is, can you either build the assets or are you competitive enough with your experience to match for a program? To be 100% honest with you, I waited far too late in the game to boost up my residency application. I would say that I was honestly very disengaged in pharmacy school. It really wasn't until the end of my third year that I went, oh crap, I don't want to do retail. I don't want to do hospital. I think it's clinical, but I really don't know what. Maybe AmCare. I think that's kind of cool. And by this point, I had very little to show on my application. I think I was around like a 3.2, 3.1 GPA at this point, and that's really it. Very little work experience, very little leadership experience. And so I had to go on a blitz trying to find and volunteer for any opportunity I could get just so that I could start filling up my CV with things that would make me look more competitive. And at the end of the day, I think I applied to maybe 6 residency programs, the majority within my home state of Michigan. But honestly, I only got 1 interview. Luckily, I did match at that program, and it was a very interesting experience, one that I would say was not one that I would recommend. If you are going to try to get into a residency program, I would try to get a referral from a professor or someone who can recommend you a good program that fits you, your strengths, and your personality. Let's just say that I went into something that was very new, not well established, but I'm glad it happened to me. There's this fear of regret that I feel like I've heard so many times from students, residents, and practitioners. But at the end of the day, no matter what happens to you in your career, it's what was meant to happen. As much as I was frustrated by my situation, it forced me to figure out a way forward. My coach likes to remind me often that you cannot have a breakthrough until you have a breakdown. Things have to get worse sometimes before they can get better again. And for me, my residency was when things were getting worse. But because of that situation, I learned leadership skills. I learned autonomy. I learned ambition. And I gained skills like negotiating, relationship building, and starting up projects and project management. And I had created quite a list of accomplishments that I did, because I knew that my program wasn't going to just hand deliver me the experiences that I wanted. I mean, heck, I was really interested in AmCare during my residency, and I didn't really even have a rotation for it. I had 1 experience, but the provider had no patients that he was seeing, and he was a professor. Oh, and while that's frustrating to relive for me in the moment, I'm glad it happened because it forced me to reach outside of the organization, to meet new people, and to find a pharmacist who let me shadow him for 2 months. And he gave me the training that I desperately needed in order to be adequately prepared to provide patient care. So, no matter what or how bad your situation may be, if you are doing a residency, it can be honestly an amazing learning experience. I would never take that away from me, that residency, because it's what led me to where I am today. And I'm infinitely grateful for it. If you don't match and you're watching this at that point, I'm sorry. The system has failed you. This doesn't have to determine everything for you moving forward. You can go through the secondary process. You can try to match with something else. You can try to find a program that is brand new. But guess what? You can also try it again. Go get a normal job like everyone else is, and then get a residency. Don't live off of the pharmacist salary. Don't get addicted to golden handcuffs like so many people. Enjoy the experience, but continue to push yourself. Treat yourself as if you are still a student so that you can get the residency. I have heard from so many residency directors. In fact, last year, I went and spoke with many residency directors at the showcase, and I asked them, what are the things that you are really looking for? And a theme that came up over and over again was, we love it when we have a candidate who has real world experience. We know that we don't have to often teach them as many soft skills because well, no, never mind. I'm not going to say it. But you can go and try again. You're not a failure. You are not forever, tarnished by this rejection or by really a system failing you, more so than a rejection, because it's an automated process. You can go get another residency. You can, and even if you're not doing a residency, you can gain these skills. You can put yourself in an environment where you're stretched beyond your capabilities so that you gain confidence in new settings and new skills. I hope this was helpful. If you're in the middle of this and you have a question, feel free to write a comment below and we'll try to answer it. But I appreciate you listening to this video. And if you have feedback, please give it. If you disliked it, let us know. But if you liked it, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel where we talk about pharmacy careers every week. Thanks for watching again. And until I see you in the next one, stay curious and take care.